Marcus Kane's escape pod tumbled through the Ashvar Nebula like a broken toy. Red warning lights flashed across every surface inside the cramped metal coffin. The air tasted stale and thin. He could hear the oxygen recycler making a grinding noise that meant it would fail soon. Maybe in an hour. Maybe less. He stared at his torn uniform sleeve. The place where his Earth Defense Force insignia used to be was just empty fabric now. They had ripped it off 3 months ago in front of the entire battalion. Commander Reeves had called him a traitor. A coward. Unfit to wear the uniform. Marcus touched his shoulder where the patch had been. His fingers traced the outline of absence. 20 years of service. 20 years of following orders. Protecting colonies. Saving lives. All erased in one moment because he refused to pull the trigger on unarmed families. The memory burned in his mind. The colony on Terran 7. Corporate executives wanted the land. The families living there refused to move. Command sent Marcus's unit to remove the obstacle. When he saw children hiding behind their parents, he lowered his weapon. He told his squad to stand down. Reeves put a gun to Marcus's head right there. Execute the order, or I execute you. Marcus dropped his weapon instead. Then shoot me. I won't murder children. They didn't shoot him. That would have made him a martyr. Instead, they branded him insubordinate, stripped his rank, gave him a half-broken transport ship, and enough fuel to reach the outer rim. Then they erased his record and told him to disappear. So he disappeared. The pod's computer made a harsh beeping sound. Marcus looked at the navigation screen. A planet was pulling him toward it with gravity. No, not a planet. A moon. The sensors showed it was volcanic, hostile, and uncharted. The atmosphere was barely breathable. Surface temperature averaged 40 degrees Celsius. He had no choice. His ship was dead. Life support was failing. The pod was entering the moon's atmosphere. Whether he liked it or not, Marcus strapped himself into the crash harness and closed his eyes. The pod started shaking. The heat shields glowed orange, then red, then white. The metal screamed around him. His teeth rattled in his skull. He tasted blood. The impact came like a hammer. Everything went black. When Marcus opened his eyes, smoke filled the pod. Alarms shrieked. He unbuckled with shaking hands and kicked the emergency hatch. It took 3 tries before the door blew off with a hiss of hydraulics. He crawled out onto black volcanic rock. The sky above was orange with volcanic ash. The air was thick and hot, like breathing soup. Every breath hurt his lungs. His left arm hung wrong. Probably broken. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. Marcus looked at his pod. It was crushed, bent, completely destroyed. No communication equipment worked. No way to call for help. Not that anyone would come for a banished soldier anyway. He forced himself to stand. His ribs screamed in pain. Something was definitely broken there too. He looked around the landscape. Black rocks stretched in every direction. Steam vents hissed from cracks in the ground. In the distance, a volcano glowed red against the dark sky. Then he saw the caves. A network of openings in a cliff face about 200 meters away. Shelter. He needed shelter before nightfall. He had no idea what kind of predators lived on this moon. Marcus stumbled toward the caves. Each step felt like walking on broken glass. His vision kept going blurry. Concussion. Probably. He counted his steps to stay conscious. 1, 2, 3. Keep moving. 20, 30. Don't stop. He reached the caves as the sky started darkening. The entrance was wide enough for him to walk through. He pulled out his combat knife and activated the small light built into the handle. The beam cut through the darkness. The cave went deep into the mountain. Marcus followed it, using the wall for support. His hand left bloody prints on the stone. After about 50 meters, the tunnel opened into a larger chamber. That's when he saw them. 3 enormous eggs sat in the center of the chamber. Each one was the size of Marcus himself. They weren't normal eggs. Their shells looked like crystal, translucent and gleaming. Light pulsed inside them. Gold, silver, and crimson. The colors moved like liquid fire beneath the surface. Marcus limped closer. Heat radiated from the eggs. Not burning hot, but warm like a living body. He placed his hand on the golden egg. It pulsed under his palm, like a heartbeat. "What are you?" Marcus whispered. The egg pulsed again, stronger this time. Then, the other two eggs pulsed in response. Gold, silver, crimson. A rhythm. Almost like they were answering him. Marcus pulled his hand back. He should leave. These eggs belonged to something. Something big. Something that might not appreciate him touching them. But where would he go? Back into the volcanic wasteland with broken ribs and a shattered arm? He sat down with his back against the cave wall. His medical kit had survived in his jacket pocket. He pulled out the emergency supplies. Bandages. Painkillers. Antiseptic. He cleaned the cut on his face and wrapped his ribs as tight as he could stand. The arm would need a splint. While he worked, the eggs kept pulsing. The light was almost comforting. It pushed back the darkness. That's when Marcus heard the sounds outside. Scratching. Multiple sources. Coming from the cave entrance. He forced himself to stand and move to the tunnel. His knife felt small in his hand. 6 creatures appeared at the edge of his light. They moved on, 6 legs each, low to the ground like giant lizards. Their scales were black as the volcanic rock. Their eyes reflected his light like mirrors. Teeth filled their mouths. Too many teeth, one of them hissed. The others responded. They started moving into the cave. Toward the eggs, Marcus understood immediately. These things were predators. They were after the eggs. Whatever was inside those crystalline shells was valuable. Food, maybe. Or worse. He stepped into the tunnel, blocking their path. No, the creatures paused. They tilted their heads. Then the lead one charged. Marcus braced himself. The creature hit him like a battering ram. He stabbed down with his knife, felt it pierce scales. The creature screamed and pulled back. Black blood dripped from the wound. The others circled around. Marcus backed up toward the chamber. He couldn't fight 6 of them. Not with his injuries, but he couldn't let them reach the eggs either. He didn't know why. He'd just found them. They weren't his responsibility. He should hide, let nature take its course, save himself. But Marcus looked at those pulsing eggs. Those heartbeats. And he remembered the children on Terran 7. How they hid behind their parents. How they looked at him with terrified eyes. How he couldn't pull the trigger. He couldn't walk away now either. Marcus checked his sidearm. 47 rounds. He pulled back the slide and heard the satisfying click of a round entering the chamber. The creatures were spreading out, trying to flank him. "All right," Marcus said quietly. "Let's see how this goes." The lead creature charged again. Marcus fired once. Twice. The shots echoed like thunder in the cave. The creature went down. The others hesitated. Marcus positioned himself at the tunnel entrance. It was narrow here. They could only come at him 2 at a time. Basic defensive tactics. Hold the choke point. The eggs pulsed brighter behind him. Gold, silver, crimson. Their rhythm matched his heartbeat now. Or maybe his heartbeat matched theirs. He couldn't tell anymore. The creatures attacked again. Marcus fired. Reloaded. Fired. His broken arm screamed in pain every time he pulled the trigger. He didn't care. He thought about his daughter Emma. She was 12 when they banished him. She'd be 15 now. Did she think he was a traitor too? Or did she understand why he couldn't follow that order? Another creature went down. 3 left. No, wait. He heard more scratching. More were coming. Marcus smiled grimly. At least he'd die doing something that mattered. At least this time. He was protecting something innocent. The eggs pulsed again. Stronger, brighter. And Marcus Kane, the banished warrior, took his stand. 6 days had passed since Marcus Kane made his stand at the cave entrance. 6 days of fighting. 6 days of pain. 6 days of slowly dying. His ammunition was gone. The last bullet had left his gun 3 days ago. Now he fought with a makeshift spear he'd crafted from a broken piece of metal from his escape pod and a sharp rock. His combat knife stayed strapped to his belt as a backup. Always keep a backup weapon. Basic survival training. Marcus sat against the cave wall during a quiet moment. The creatures he'd started calling ash crawlers hadn't attacked for several hours. They were learning. Getting smarter. They knew he was wounded and weak. They were waiting for him to collapse. His left arm was useless now. The break had gotten worse. Infection had set in despite the antiseptic. Fever burned through his body. He could feel it cooking his brain, making his thoughts fuzzy and strange. His ribs hurt with every breath. The cuts and bites covering his body had stopped bleeding, but that wasn't a good sign. It meant his body was shutting down. Water dripped from a crack in the cave ceiling. Marcus had positioned his canteen underneath to catch the drops. It was the only reason he was still alive. No food, though. Just water. His stomach had stopped hurting from hunger 2 days ago. Now it just felt empty and cold. The eggs pulsed behind him. Gold, silver, crimson. They'd been doing that constantly since he arrived. But something had changed. The rhythm was different now. Faster. More urgent. Like whatever was inside was growing restless. Marcus turned to look at them. In his fever, they seemed to glow brighter. The crystalline shells were beautiful. He'd never seen anything like them in 20 years of space travel. "Hey there," Marcus said. His voice was rough and dry. "Still hanging on?" The golden egg pulsed. Then, the silver one. Then, the crimson. Marcus laughed weakly. It hurt his ribs. "Yeah, me too, barely." He'd started talking to the eggs on the 3rd day. At first, he felt stupid doing it, but the fever made him care less about looking foolish. Besides, there was nobody here to judge him. Just 3 eggs and a pack of hungry predators. "You know what's funny?" Marcus said. "I spent my whole life following rules, being the good soldier, and the one time I break the rules, they throw me away like garbage." He coughed. Blood spotted his hand. "Not good. But I'd do it again. Those kids on Terran 7. They deserve to live. Thanks for watching. And we do absolutely, always force. Force. I do absolutely. 470. I do absolutely. The eggs pulsed together, strong and synchronized. "I had a daughter." Marcus continued. The fever made the words pour out. "Emma. She had these bright green eyes. Always asked questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? Where do stars come from? Why do people hurt each other?" He closed his eyes. "I never had a good answer for that last one." The golden egg's pulse seemed to slow, to match his heartbeat. Marcus felt it somehow. A connection he couldn't explain. Maybe the fever was making him imagine things. "Haven't seen Emma in 5 years. She was 12 when they banished me. Probably hates me now. Probably thinks her dad's a criminal." Marcus opened his eyes and looked at the eggs. "But I couldn't shoot those kids. I just couldn't, even if it cost me everything." Outside the cave, the scratching started again. The ash crawlers were coming back. Marcus forced himself to stand. His legs shook. His vision went black for a moment. He grabbed his spear and stumbled to the tunnel entrance. His whole body felt like it was made of broken glass. 5 ash crawlers appeared in the darkness. No. 6. 7. They'd brought reinforcements. "Of course you did," Marcus muttered. The lead ash crawler hissed. The others spread out. They'd learned his defensive position. Now they were trying to overwhelm him with numbers. Marcus braced himself. The first creature charged. He thrust his spear forward. The metal tip caught the ash crawler in the throat. It went down thrashing. But the effort cost him. Pain exploded through his ribs. His broken arm screamed even though he wasn't using it. 2 more ash crawlers came at him from different angles. Marcus pulled his knife and slashed at the closer one. The blade cut across its face. The creature screamed and backed away, but the other one got through his defense. Its claws raked across his leg. Marcus fell to one knee. Blood ran hot down his leg. He stabbed blindly with his knife and felt it connect. The ash crawler retreated, but now he was on the ground, vulnerable. The remaining ash crawlers closed in. Marcus tried to stand. His leg wouldn't support his weight. He crawled backward into the chamber, dragging his spear. The ash crawlers followed slowly. They knew they'd won. They were just being cautious. Not yet, Marcus gasped. Not yet. He pulled himself up using the cave wall. His hand left a bloody smear on the stone. The ash crawlers entered the chamber. 4 of them now. The others must have died, or fled. Marcus positioned himself between the predators and the eggs. His vision kept going dark at the edges. He could barely feel his legs anymore. His grip on the spear was weak. The lead ash crawler lunged. Marcus swung his spear but missed. The creature's claws caught him across the chest. He fell backward. His head cracked against the stone floor. Everything went blurry. He could see the ash crawler moving toward the eggs. Could see its mouth opening to bite into the golden shell. No, Marcus whispered. He tried to move. Couldn't. His body wouldn't respond. Then he heard something. A cracking sound. Not from teeth on shell. Something else. The golden egg was splitting. A thin line appeared in the crystalline surface. Light poured out. Not just light. Something else. Something powerful that made the air vibrate. The ash crawler paused. It turned away from the egg. Confused. Scared. The crack grew wider. Marcus could see movement inside. Something golden and alive. More cracking. The silver egg now. Then the crimson one. All 3 eggs were hatching at the same time. The ash crawlers backed away. They hissed in fear. Whatever was coming out of those eggs, they didn't want to face it. Marcus lay on the ground, unable to move. He watched as the golden egg split completely. A small creature emerged. It was the size of a large dog. Its scales gleamed like polished gold. Wings folded against its back. A long tail. A triangular head with bright, intelligent eyes. A dragon. Marcus was looking at a baby dragon. The creature made a sound like wind chimes. Beautiful and strange. It looked at Marcus with those ancient eyes. Then it looked at the ash crawlers. The baby dragon opened its mouth. A small burst of flame shot out. Not much. Just a flicker. But it was enough. The ash crawlers screamed and ran. The silver egg hatched next. Another dragon. This one with silver scales that shimmered like moonlight. Then the crimson egg produced a third dragon. Deep red like cooling lava. All 3 dragons stood between Marcus and the cave entrance, protecting him now. Just as he'd protected them, Marcus tried to speak, but no words came out. The fever was too strong. The blood loss too great. Everything was going dark. The golden dragon approached him. It made that wind chime sound again. Worried. Scared. It pressed its small foreclaw against Marcus's chest. Warmth flooded through him. Not burning. Gentle. Like sunlight on a cold day. The pain didn't go away, but it became distant. Manageable. The 3 dragons curled around Marcus. Their body heat kept him warm. Their presence kept the ash crawlers away. They chirped and hummed to each other, in their strange musical language. Marcus's eyes grew heavy. He was so tired, so very tired. Keep each other safe, he whispered to the dragons. Stay together. Watch out for. Darkness took him before he could finish. The 3 dragons hummed louder. The golden one kept its claw pressed against Marcus's chest, monitoring his heartbeat, willing him to live. Outside the cave, more ash crawlers gathered in the darkness. The baby dragons couldn't defend themselves yet. Their fire was too weak. their claws too small. But they had Marcus. And Marcus had them. The vigil continued through the night. The dragons keeping watch over their dying protector. The man who'd given everything to defend them before they were even born. And deep in his fever dreams, Marcus saw things. Memories that weren't his. Images of great winged creatures flying through ancient skies. A civilization of dragons that once ruled the stars. And a word that echoed in his dying mind. Talcora, the one who stands. Marcus woke to the feeling of something wet on his face. He opened his eyes slowly. Everything was blurry. A golden shape hovered above him. It made that wind chime sound. His vision cleared. The golden dragon was licking his face. Its tongue was rough but gentle. Like a cat, but warmer. The dragon's eyes were close to his. Bright and intelligent. Worried, Marcus tried to sit up. Pain shot through his body, but it wasn't as bad as before. He looked down at himself. His wounds were covered in a strange crystalline gel. It sparkled in the dim light of the cave. The gel was cool against his skin, and the pain underneath was dull instead of sharp. "What did you do?" Marcus asked. His voice was stronger than it had been in days. The golden dragon chirped. It sounded happy. Relieved. The other two dragons approached. The silver one carried something in its mouth. A strange purple fruit. It dropped the fruit in Marcus's lap. Marcus picked up the fruit. It was about the size of an apple, but heavier. The skin was tough. He looked at the three dragons watching him expectantly. "Is this food?" Marcus asked. All three dragons bobbed their heads. The movement was so human-like that Marcus almost laughed. He used his knife to cut the fruit open. Inside was orange flesh that smelled sweet. His stomach growled loudly. He took a bite. The fruit was delicious, sweet and tangy. Juice ran down his chin. He hadn't eaten in almost a week. He devoured the fruit in minutes. The crimson dragon made a pleased sound. Then it left the chamber. A few minutes later it returned with another fruit. And a small, dead creature that looked like a lizard. Marcus stared at the offerings. "You're feeding me," the dragons chirped in unison. They seemed proud of themselves. Over the next few hours, Marcus learned more about his unexpected companions. The golden dragon was clearly the leader. It stayed close to Marcus, watching him constantly, making sure he was okay. Marcus started calling it Aurora because of how its scales caught the light. The silver dragon was curious and playful. It explored every corner of the cave. It brought Marcus interesting rocks and tried to make him play. Marcus named it Zephyr because it moved quick as wind. The crimson dragon was protective and fierce. It stationed itself at the cave entrance and watched for threats. When ash crawlers came near, it hissed and shot small bursts of flame. Marcus named it Ember. "Aurora, Zephyr, and Ember," Marcus said. The dragons responded to their new names immediately, like they understood human speech. As the days passed, Marcus grew stronger. The crystalline gel healed his wounds faster than should be possible. His broken arm still hurt, but he could move it slightly. His ribs stopped aching with every breath. The fever broke. But something else was happening. Marcus started seeing things. Not hallucinations, memories. But they weren't his memories. He saw massive dragons flying through space without ships. He saw a beautiful planet covered in crystal towers. He saw thousands of dragons living in harmony. Building, creating, thriving. Then he saw darkness. A plague spreading through the dragon civilization. Adults dying by the thousands. Parents hiding their eggs in secret places, hoping their young would survive. Marcus woke from one of these visions, gasping. Aurora sat next to him. She pressed her foreclaw against his chest, and suddenly Marcus understood. The visions were real. They were Aurora's memories. Or rather, the memories of her species. The Drakari. That's what the dragons called themselves. An ancient race that once ruled this entire sector of space. The plague had nearly destroyed them. Only a few survived by hiding their eggs in places like this cave. Aurora's parents had died defending this nest from the plague. They'd used their last strength to seal the eggs in a protective stasis. The eggs would hatch when conditions were safe again. When the plague was gone, Marcus had triggered the hatching by being here. By protecting the nest. His presence, his determination, his willingness to sacrifice himself had somehow signaled to the eggs that it was time. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered to Aurora. "I'm sorry about your parents. About your people." Aurora made a soft sound. Not sad. Grateful. She showed him another image. Marcus defending the cave entrance. Fighting the ash crawlers. Refusing to abandon the eggs. Even when death seemed certain. Then Aurora showed him something that made Marcus's breath catch. She showed him what the Drakari called soul fire. The inner light that defined a person's true character. Some humans had bright soul fire. Others had dim or twisted fire. Aurora showed Marcus his own soul fire. It burned bright and clear, pure. The kind of soul fire the Drakari respected above all else. Talcora. The one who stands for others when no one else will. "I'm just a soldier," Marcus said. "A banished one at that," Aurora chirped firmly. She showed him the image again. His soul fire burning bright. In the Drakari way of understanding, titles and ranks meant nothing. Only actions mattered, only choices. And Marcus had chosen to protect the innocent. That made him Talcora. A sound interrupted them. Not scratching. Something else. Something mechanical. Marcus grabbed his knife and moved to the cave entrance. Ember growled beside him. Zephyr and Aurora joined them. Outside the cave, the sky was different. A ship was descending through the atmosphere. Not a rescue ship. Marcus recognized the design. A smuggler vessel, old military transport retrofitted for illegal cargo. His distress beacon, it must have activated somehow in the crash, and someone had picked up the signal. The ship landed on the volcanic plain. A ramp extended. 6 figures emerged wearing environmental suits and carrying weapons. Leading them was a tall man with cybernetic implants visible on his face and arms. Marcus's heart sank. He knew that man. Vex Thorn. A former military operative turned smuggler. They'd served together years ago, before Thorn was discharged for theft and violence. Thorn carried a scanning device. He looked at it, and then directly at the cave. A smile spread across his scarred face. Well, Thorn's voice came through a speaker in his helmet. "Marcus Kane. I heard you got banished. Didn't expect to find you here." He looked at his scanner again. "And you've got something very interesting in that cave." Marcus stepped out of the cave entrance. The 3 dragons stayed behind him. "Leave, Thorn. There's nothing here for you." Thorn laughed. "That scanner says different. I'm reading 3 life signs. Big ones. Reptilian. You know what lives on volcanic moons like this? And has that biosignature?" He pulled out a data pad and showed Marcus an image. A dragon. An adult Drakari. These beauties. Thought to be extinct. But clearly not. And baby dragons? "Marcus, do you have any idea what they're worth?" "They're not for sale," Marcus said coldly. "Everything's for sale." Thorn gestured to his crew. They spread out. 2 of them carried energy nets, the kind used for capturing large animals. "You can walk away, Kane. I don't want to hurt you. We served together once. But I'm taking those dragons." Marcus drew his knife. His body still hurt. He was weak from days of fighting and starvation. He had no gun. No real weapons. Just a knife and 3 baby dragons who couldn't really defend themselves yet. Behind him, Aurora, Zephyr, and Ember growled. Their small claws scraped against stone. Their tiny flames flickered. Thorn sighed. "Don't be stupid, Marcus. You're going to die for these things? They're not even your species." Marcus thought about Emma. About the children on Terran 7. About every choice that had led him to this moment. He smiled. "That's exactly why it matters," Marcus said. Thorn shook his head. "Have it your way." He nodded to his crew. Take him down. Alive if possible. Dead, if necessary. But don't damage the dragons. The smugglers advanced. Marcus tightened his grip on his knife. The three dragons positioned themselves beside him. Together, they faced the approaching threat. This was it. The real test. Marcus had defended the eggs when they couldn't defend themselves. Now the hatchlings would fight beside him. He just hoped it would be enough. The first smuggler rushed forward with an energy net. Marcus sidestepped and drove his knife into the man's side between the armor plates. The smuggler screamed and fell. Marcus grabbed his plasma rifle before the man hit the ground. "Shoot him!" Thorn yelled. Marcus rolled behind a boulder as plasma bolts scorched the air where he'd been standing. He came up firing. The rifle bucked in his hands. One smuggler went down. Then another. But there were still 4 left, including Thorn. And Marcus's cover wouldn't last long. Ember roared. The crimson dragon charged out of the cave entrance. Its flames were small but bright. One smuggler screamed as fire caught his suit. He dropped his weapon and ran toward the ship, beating at the flames. Zephyr darted between the smuggler's legs, moving impossibly fast. The silver dragon's tail whipped out and tripped one man. Aurora stayed close to Marcus, her golden eyes watching everything. "Net the dragons," Thorn ordered. "Stun the human." A smuggler fired a stun bolt. Marcus dodged, but the edge of the blast caught him. His muscles locked up. He fell hard on the volcanic rock. The plasma rifle clattered away from his hand. The smuggler with the energy net approached the dragons. He threw it wide. The net expanded in the air, crackling with electricity. It would paralyze anything it touched. Aurora saw the net coming. She pushed Zephyr and Ember aside. The net fell over Aurora instead. She shrieked as electricity coursed through her small body. Her golden scales dimmed. "No." Marcus tried to move, but his muscles wouldn't obey. The stun effect was still active. Ember and Zephyr attacked the smuggler. Their claws were too small to pierce his armor, but they distracted him. Another smuggler kicked Ember away. The crimson dragon tumbled across the ground. Marcus watched helplessly. His body was paralyzed, but his mind was clear. He could see Aurora struggling in the net, could see Zephyr and Ember trying to fight enemies far stronger than them. They were just babies. They couldn't win this fight. His fault. He'd led Thorn here. His distress beacon had brought these criminals. The dragons would be captured because of him, just like Terran 7, just like Emma. Everything he tried to protect ended up hurt because he wasn't strong enough. Aurora's eyes met his. Even trapped in the net, even in pain, she looked at him, not with blame, with trust. She believed in him, and suddenly Marcus felt something. A warmth in his chest. Where Aurora had touched him before, where she'd placed her foreclaw when he was dying, the connection was still there. Images flooded Marcus's mind. Not memories this time. Something else. Aurora was showing him the Drakari concept of bonding. When a dragon and another being shared the same soul fire, they could connect. Share strength. Fight as one. Marcus had never bonded with anyone before. Humans couldn't bond the way Drakari could. But Aurora wasn't asking for a normal bond. She was offering something desperate. Temporary. Dangerous for both of them. She was offering to share her life force with him, to burn her own energy to give him strength. It might weaken her permanently, might even hurt her developing body. But she was willing, because she trusted him. Just as he'd trusted her species enough to defend their eggs, Marcus reached out mentally. Accepted the bond. Power surged through his paralyzed body. Not electricity. Something cleaner. Stronger. The stun effect shattered like glass. Marcus rose to his feet. His broken arm moved without pain. His wounds stopped aching. He felt faster, stronger, more aware than ever before in his life. His eyes met Aurora's. They glowed the same golden color. The bond was active. Marcus moved. The smuggler holding the net control didn't even see him coming. Marcus ripped the device from the man's hands and crushed it. The net deactivated. Aurora shook herself free. "What the hell?" The smuggler backed away. Marcus didn't have a weapon, didn't need one. He fought with his bare hands, and it was enough. The enhanced strength from Aurora's bond made every strike devastating. He disarmed one smuggler and used the man's own stun baton against him. Ember and Zephyr rejoined the fight. With Marcus empowered, the three dragons could coordinate with him. They moved like a unit. Like a pack, Marcus would strike high while Zephyr went low. Ember would breathe fire to distract while Aurora used her claws. 2 more smugglers went down. Only Thorn remained standing. "Impossible," Thorn said. He drew 2 plasma pistols. "Military grade. High-powered. You're just human, Kane. You can't beat me." "I'm not just anything," Marcus said. His voice sounded different. Stronger. "I'm Talcora. I'm Talcora." Thorn fired both pistols. Marcus moved faster than he should have been able to. The plasma bolts missed. He closed the distance between them. Thorn was enhanced with cybernetics, but the bond made Marcus equally fast. They fought hand to hand. Thorn's metal fist connected with Marcus's jaw. Marcus tasted blood but didn't fall. He grabbed Thorn's arm and twisted. Metal bent. Thorn screamed. "You've got tech," Marcus said. "I've got purpose. Which do you think is stronger?" Thorn headbutted Marcus. Stars exploded in Marcus's vision. He stumbled back. Thorn pulled out a thermal charge from his belt. A small explosive, powerful enough to collapse the cave system. "If I can't have them, nobody can," Thorn said. He activated the charge and threw it toward the cave entrance. Marcus watched the charge arc through the air. He had maybe 3 seconds. The charge would explode. The cave would collapse. The dragons would be buried. No time to think, only time to act. Marcus ran. Not away from the charge. Toward it. He caught the thermal charge in midair and kept running. Away from the cave. Away from the dragons. Toward Thorn's ship. "Stop him," Thorn yelled. But there was nobody left to stop Marcus. He ran as fast as the bond would let him. 30 meters. 40. 50. The thermal charge beeped faster, almost at critical. He threw it at the ship and dove behind a boulder. The explosion was massive. The thermal charge detonated. Then the ship's fuel reserves went up. The double explosion created a fireball that rose into the orange sky. The shockwave knocked Marcus flat. When the ringing in his ears stopped, Marcus stood. Thorn's ship was destroyed. Just burning wreckage, no escape now. The smugglers were stranded on this moon just like Marcus had been. Thorn stared at the ruins of his ship. His face went pale. "You destroyed my ship. You insane fool. You killed us all." "No," Marcus said. "I saved them." He pointed at the dragons. Thorn's remaining conscious smugglers were backing away. They'd seen what Marcus could do with the bond active. They weren't interested in fighting anymore. They ran into the volcanic wasteland, probably hoping to find shelter somewhere else on the moon. Thorn looked at Marcus one last time. "You're going to die here, Kane. Was it worth it?" Marcus looked at Aurora, Zephyr, and Ember. The 3 dragons stood together, watching him with their ancient, intelligent eyes. His chest felt warm where the bond connected him to Aurora. "Yeah," Marcus said. "It was." Thorn spat blood and limped after his crew. He didn't look back. Marcus walked back to the cave. His body suddenly felt heavy. The bond was fading. Aurora had given him everything she could, but she was just a hatchling. The connection couldn't last long. He made it to the cave entrance before his legs gave out. He collapsed against the stone wall. The enhanced strength was gone. All his injuries came rushing back. The pain. The exhaustion. Everything the bond had suppressed. Aurora approached him. Her scales had lost some of their luster. She'd given too much. Weakened herself to save him. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered. "You shouldn't have done that." Aurora chirped softly. She pressed her foreclaw against his chest again, and Marcus saw one final image. It wasn't regret Aurora felt. It was gratitude. Peace. She'd found someone worthy of the bond. Someone who would protect others, without hesitation. Someone, Talcora. The three dragons curled around Marcus as darkness pulled at him. His heart was slowing. He could feel it. The bond had burned through his remaining strength. He'd pushed his damaged body too far, but the eggs were safe. The hatchlings were alive. That mattered more than anything else. Marcus closed his eyes. He thought of Emma one last time. Hoped she'd understand someday why he'd made the choices he made. The three dragons hummed their wind chime song. Louder now. Urgent. They pressed closer to Marcus, trying to share their warmth with him. In the distance, something else approached. Something big. But Marcus was too far gone to care. His last thought was simple and clear. Worth it. 50 years later, a young woman named Sarah Chen stepped off a diplomatic shuttle onto the surface of Talvrakar. The home world of the Drakari took her breath away. Crystal towers rose into a purple sky. Dragons of every color flew between the spires. The air shimmered with energy. Sarah was Earth's first official ambassador to the Drakari. 6 months ago, humanity didn't even know dragons existed. Then the Drakari revealed themselves to save a human colony from a volcanic eruption. They'd appeared from nowhere, evacuated thousands of people, and disappeared again. Now they'd invited humanity to open diplomatic relations. Sarah's mission was to establish trust between the two species. But the Drakari had been mysterious about their reasons for reaching out after hiding for so long. A massive golden dragon landed in front of Sarah. Its scales gleamed like polished metal. Its eyes held ancient wisdom. When it spoke, its voice resonated in Sarah's mind. Welcome, Ambassador Chen. I am Aurora, matriarch of the Drakari. Thank you for coming. Sarah bowed respectfully. The honor is mine, Matriarch Aurora. My government is grateful for your invitation. Walk with me, Aurora said. There is something you must see, something every human should know. Aurora led Sarah through the Crystal City. Other dragons stopped to watch. Some were enormous, the size of buildings. Others were smaller, younger. All of them dipped their heads as Aurora passed. They came to a massive structure at the city's center. The Hall of Eternal Flame. Inside, the ceiling stretched high above. Thousands of crystalline statues lined the walls. Each one honored a Drakari hero from throughout history. But at the very center of the hall stood a different statue. It wasn't a dragon. It was a human man. The statue showed a soldier in a torn uniform. He held a knife in one hand. His other arm hung broken at his side. His face was carved with determination and exhaustion. Around him, 3 small dragons pressed close. The statue was made of living crystal that pulsed with golden light. Sarah stared. Who is this? His name was Marcus Kane, Aurora said quietly. Talcora Kane, the shield who stood alone. 3 ancient dragons approached. 1 gold, 1 silver, 1 crimson. They were massive now, but they moved gently, carefully. They arranged themselves around the statue, like guards. These are my siblings, Aurora continued. Zephyr and Ember. We 3 are the last survivors of the plague that nearly destroyed our people. We would have died as well, if not for him. Aurora told Sarah the story. How Marcus had crashed on Dracor Prime. How he'd found their eggs. How he'd defended them for days, with no food, no help, no hope of rescue. How he'd fought smugglers to protect 3 baby dragons he'd just met. He was banished by your people, Aurora said. Cast out for refusing to harm the innocent. He had every reason to be bitter, to care only for himself, but when he found us, he chose differently. Zephyr stepped forward. The silver dragon's voice was melodic. He spoke to us while we were still in our eggs, told us about his daughter, about his choices, about why protecting others mattered more than his own survival. Ember, the crimson dragon, growled softly. He bonded with Aurora to save us, burned the last of his strength fighting enemies he could not defeat, all for 3 hatchlings of a species he'd never seen before. Sarah felt tears on her cheeks. What happened to him? He died in our arms, Aurora said. His heart gave out after the battle. But before he passed, we did something our species has only done a handful of times in our entire history. We preserved his soul fire. Aurora touched the statue with her foreclaw. It pulsed brighter. Sarah felt warmth radiating from it. Not just heat. Something else. Something that felt alive and aware. The Drakari can capture the essence of those who die in our presence, Aurora explained. Not resurrection. Not bringing them back. But preserving what made them who they were. Their courage, their compassion, their light. Marcus's soul fire burns in this crystal. It will burn forever. Sarah wiped her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because Marcus Kane changed everything, Aurora said. For thousands of years after the plague, we hid from other species. We'd been betrayed before. Hunted. We trusted no one, Zephyr continued. But Marcus showed us that honor exists across all species. That compassion isn't limited to the Drakari. One human, rejected by his own kind, proved that some beings will protect others no matter the cost. Because of him we emerged from hiding, Ember added. Because of him, we began reaching out to other civilizations again. Your colony 6 months ago was the first test. When we saw humans in danger, we remembered Marcus. We had to help. And Aurora's eyes met Sarah's. Every Drakari hatchling learns his name before any other. Talcora Kane is taught in our schools, carved in our temples, sung in our ceremonies. He is not just honored among us, he is revered. Sarah looked around the Hall of Eternal Flame. Dozens of dragons had gathered, young and old. All of them hummed that wind chime song. The sound was beautiful and haunting. Your species cast him aside, Aurora said. But we will never forget him. He is the bridge between our civilizations. The proof that humans and Drakari can stand together. Zephyr approached Sarah. Marcus had a daughter, Emma. She would be old now if she still lives. We've searched for her, but human records are incomplete. Can you help us find her? Sarah's breath caught. You want to find his daughter? She deserves to know, Ember said. Her father wasn't a traitor. He was exactly what he always told her he was. A protector. A hero. Talcora. Aurora produced a small crystal shard. It glowed with the same golden light as the statue. This contains a portion of Marcus's soul fire. We want to give it to Emma. So she can know her father's spirit lives on. So she can understand what he meant to us. Sarah took the crystal carefully. It was warm in her hands. She could almost feel something inside it. A presence. Strong and gentle at the same time. I'll find her, Sarah promised. I'll make sure she knows. Over the following weeks, Sarah learned more about Marcus's impact on Drakari culture. The word Talcora had become the highest honor their society could bestow. Songs about the banished warrior were sung at every major ceremony. Young dragons made pilgrimages to Drakor Prime to see where he'd made his stand. Some Drakari had even adopted human customs as a way of honoring Marcus. They studied human language, human history, trying to understand the species that had produced such a remarkable individual. Sarah eventually found Emma Kane. She was 72 years old, living in a small colony on the edge of human space. She'd spent her whole life believing her father died a criminal. When Sarah told her the truth, Emma wept. She held the crystal shard containing her father's soul fire and felt the warmth within it. He always said he'd rather die doing the right thing than live doing the wrong thing. Emma whispered, I thought those were just words. I was so angry when they banished him, but he meant it. He really meant it. Sarah arranged for Emma to visit Talvrakar. When Aurora met Marcus's daughter, the ancient dragon bowed low. Something dragons rarely did for anyone. Your father saved my life, Aurora said. He saved my siblings. He saved our entire species by showing us that not all other races would betray us. Everything we've built since that day exists because he stood when others would have run. Emma touched the statue of her father. She felt the soul fire burning within it. And for the first time in 50 years, she smiled. "Thank you," she said to Aurora, "for remembering him, for honoring him, for making sure his sacrifice mattered. We will never forget," Aurora promised. "Every generation of Drakari will learn his name, will learn what it means to be Talcora. Your father's legend will live forever among the dragons." Years later, Sarah Chen wrote a report about her time on Talvarkar. She included Marcus Kane's story, how a banished soldier became the most honored human in Drakari history, how his sacrifice changed the fate of 2 civilizations. The report changed everything for humanity too. Marcus became a symbol, schools were named after him, statues were erected. His story was taught to children across human space. The man Earth had called a traitor became Earth's greatest hero. And on Talvarkar, in the Hall of Eternal Flame, 3 ancient dragons kept their eternal vigil. Aurora, Zephyr, and Ember would never leave their protector's side, just as he'd never left theirs. Every day at sunset, thousands of dragons gathered in the hall. They hummed their wind chime song, a tribute to the human who taught them that courage and compassion know no species boundaries. The crystal statue pulsed with golden light, Marcus Kane's soul fire burning bright. A reminder that one person, no matter how broken or cast aside, can change the galaxy. Not through violence, not through power, but through the simple act of standing for others when no one else will. Talcora, the shield who stood alone, the legend the dragons would never forget. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 4.5.